Hey everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting, and tonight we're going to be talking about the exciting world of insurance. But luckily, I know nothing about collectible insurance, but I got a couple people with me tonight. Matt, the boy who had 7. What's going on, Matt?
Hey man, I'm doing good. I'm actually excited to talk about this because it's something I thought about for a really long time and made a decision, and I guess we'll get into that later. But
yeah,
excited to be back too because we haven't done this for a while either.
Oh, I know. We've been way behind on this. And joining us is Comic Books NYC. What's going on, Gabby?
Yeah, I got a whole nother kind of insurance you can buy for me right away.
Don Dada.
Don Dada's got an insurance policy you can buy 50% interest on that. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, collectibles insurance. This is something that and thanks for having me back on the show. I think I've been on the show a few times. I always liked collecting smart topics. Yeah, 3 or 4 times, something like that. And it's something that I'm very much new to, I guess. Like, I've only had a policy in the last 18 months or so. So, you know, there's parts of it I understand pretty well, and then there's parts of it where this specific situation hasn't happened to me. So I may not have, you know, as strong of an understanding. So we're kind of have the gamut here a little bit.
Yeah, so we have no insurance, and then two guys that do have insurance, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to have all the answers, but we want to hear your questions, and we're going to talk about it and pros and cons and what we understand and just kind of get into it. In the chat, we got Big Will was tailgating early. I don't know if he's come back, but he was tailgating early. Who Dat? What's going on, Who Dat? Hi, Alea. Thank you for joining us. And the boy who had 7's in the chat. All right, so there we go. Oh, Big Will is here. He has arrived. So,
hi, Stacy.
Stacy's Fat Stacks.
Oh, you guys are ahead of me on the stream here.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Stacy. So when we started talking about this is something that, like, I'll be perfectly honest, I've never really thought about before because the value of my collection was so low that it was easily covered by my homeowners. There was no really risk to me. I wasn't sending books off. I wasn't doing any of that. But that has started to change in the last year. And so it's something I've been thinking about. You guys, Kyle, you said you took the leap 18 months ago. Matt, how long have you had insurance?
I mean, that was a guess on my part. It might have been 2 years ago, honestly. Like, this time just passes before I realize it. But it's been a little bit, but yeah.
I've had insurance for about 7 to 8 months now, man.
Okay, so you're new to the insurance side of things as well.
I am.
So what prompted you to take the leap for both of you? Either one of you can start.
So for me, I had a neighbor's home broken into, and I thought, man, if somebody breaks in my house and steals my collection, I'm screwed. Literally what I thought. So I called up my homeowner's insurance to find out the information on that. And I don't know if you want to go into that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So I called them up and I'm like, okay, guys, I have a collection of comic books, vintage toys, statues, and a couple other geek stuff, you know? And so they're like, okay, pull out your policy and let's go over it with you. So there's a specific number on that policy where they tell you if you have your house broken into or there's a fire or whatever, this is the amount that we'll give you for your structure, and this is the amount that we'll give you to replace whatever was in your home. Collectibles come in that second amount, but you only get like 20% of that amount for collectibles, unless you come and pay us more and tell us how much your collectibles are worth. So it's like, okay, so what if I did that? What if I told you I have X amount of dollars, let's just say for it, $10,000 worth of comic books, right? And I want to get out some insurance from that. So they're like, okay, then we'll add this much. It was something like $100 to your premium for the year. But the girl told me, but I'm going to be honest with you, I shouldn't be saying this, and I hope nobody listens to this recorded conversation. But say you have a comic book that you say is worth $10,000. And the insurance agent calls your local comic shop and says, hey, this person lost this. How much is this comic shop worth? Or this comic book worth? and the local owner of the comic shop in your region says, oh, it's only worth $2,000, that's all we're going to give you is $2,000. And so she's like, in all honesty, I would not for collectibles get insurance with your homeowner's insurance. Okay. And so that's what made me think, holy crap, like, are you serious? Like, no, we can't do that. So especially those of us that will buy a comic book and then 10 years, it's worth 10 times as much.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was a combination of things. Okay. So the first thing was that matches up around the time where I started sending things to CGC on a much more frequent basis than I used to before that. Right. And for me, the shipping disaster or loss, like total coverage guarantee that these kind of collectibles insurance companies guarantee, so long as you do signature on delivery, which is a requirement to have the highest possible dollar amount covered. Like if you're going to send something without shipping confirmation required, that's a high dollar value item, several $1,000s or whatever, they'll only cover a certain smaller percentage of that total policy amount. But if you do, you get the full policy amount coverage on that, right? So to me, that was super key because I started adding up the numbers like, oh, like all these books that I'm sending the dollar value is adding up. Why don't I try to get it all in one policy as opposed to paying additional insurance every single time I send something, right? Whether it's through USPS, FedEx, or UPS or whatever. Instead of doing one-off insurance payments, I thought it might be cheaper and more peace of mind to just be fully covered. And, the prices are relatively affordable. You can get $75,000 worth of coverage for under $30 a month. You know what I mean? So that's, that makes me feel better, right? Yeah. Second is I've lived in apartments, New York City, lots of people, you know what I mean? We're not talking about remote neck of the woods, nobody knows anybody. There's a lot of people in New York City, and there's a lot of potential.
Well, everybody knows your name.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that. And then another factor for me was the market value thing that Matt just alluded to some degree. My homeowners or renters insurance company did not tell me that they would just ask some local guy, and if the price discrepancy was way off, they would only give me the lower number. They said that my particular company told me that if I had documentation of the original cost of the item, that they would be able to at least, like, I could submit a claim for that cost, like initial cost. Yeah. But if the collectible has grown in value in the marketplace, then they're not going to give you fair market value or 90-day GPA or whatever methodology you want to show to them that gives this collectible a value, right? So that's when I started looking into the whole collectible insurance services market and what the options were, because the shipping thing was probably at the top of my list. But honestly, if I'm going to keep something for like 5-10 years or whatever, and then it gets stolen, I want it and it appreciated. That's a bummer to only get your initial upfront investment back, and not the market value, right? So that's, after having it for a while, that has now become my biggest reason to have it. Initially, it was about shipping and not worrying, in case there were just shipping snafus, which happen. You know what I mean? But now it's definitely more sort of the attractability, the attractable offering of being able to cover market value for your collectible if it's lost or stolen or whatever.
Dad, if you want to end here, I think I got you. I can bring you into this. Hang on 1 second.
While you're doing that, I'm going to speak to what Kavi was saying. Yeah, when I did call the insurance and talk to them, they did say if you have a receipt, you can definitely show that.
Yeah.
But you got to submit that claim. And if it's depreciated, that's when she came in and said, we're going to give you what that depreciated value is.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's the opposite situation where you consider like, okay, well, what if the market value depreciates and I submit a claim? Well, that's the risk you take. You know what I mean? That's that's one of the pros and cons of having this kind of coverage, essentially, right?
Yep.
So you got to weigh those risks or options.
Yeah.
I personally feel that the initial buy-in is so low for the amount of coverage that you can get.
Yeah.
That, that I sleep soundly at night knowing I have the
heck yeah.
policy, even though I pray to God or whatever, whoever you pray to, that I never have to use it. I don't want to have to file a claim.
Heck
That's not the point, so.
Yeah.
And I haven't had to.
What's up? Can't get enough. Yeah, I think that's an important thing to discuss because, and we'll get it when JP's ready. But
sorry, I'm trying to find his email. I'm trying to remember what it was. So
it's all good. What is that magical number when you decide, you know what, my collection's gotten and grown to a specific point that now I think I need to make sure it's insured? That's really important thing that we need to discuss. What's up, Unruly?
Unruly, what's up, dude?
I don't know if that's it or not.
And Big Will said, I feel if you can put $2,000 in a short box, you need insurance. I mean, that's a fair number. That's Big Will's bar. I don't know what that number is, honestly, for me, because I've had to call and update the policy a couple times throughout the last 2 years or so, because I started much lower, and then I started looking at the things that I've added and, where the current value is for things. And I was like, oh, okay, well, if there is a scenario where everything gets stolen, then I don't have enough coverage. So I'm always planning for the absolute worst case scenario with the policy amount, at least.
Yeah, I'm not finding it. So if who that wants to Instagram that to me, I can bring him in. I'm not. I know I have it, but I'm not.
He said, "Don't worry, JP. He's hanging with the family." Or whatever.
Okay, cool. Then I won't worry about it.
You brought up a good point, man. When I send out my mystery boxes, on most of those, I actually got insurance on them, and people are like, "Dude, you're crazy. You're losing money per box."
Right, like additional insurance from the postal service.
Exactly. So I mean, I was usually putting in anywhere from $100 to $250 in those boxes. And so the insurance on that wasn't $3-4,
Yeah.
But
you had 100 boxes.
Yeah, I had 100 boxes, and I lost 2 of them. Got lost in the mail.
Right. And so those had to be filed for claims.
Yeah, they got filed for claims. I got my money back. Was able to refund, the people that bought from me. Yeah. And so it saved me in the end. And so adding up what I spent on all those boxes, 3 times 100 is $300 in insurance.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but I was able to save, file 2 claims for about $250.
Right.
So,
But you could have paid. I mean, but you did that through the United States Postal Service, right?
I did. Mm-hmm.
Did you have insurance coverage of your own separately at the time, or no?
I didn't.
You didn't. So if you did, you could have paid less than that $400
exactly
to be covered for the whole 12 months.
Yep.
You know what I mean? For a much higher amount.
Yep.
So there's a practical case where if you did have insurance, you would have saved money and headaches overall.
Yeah.
So real quick, I want to shout out a few people that have joined us while we've been talking. Unruly Shimmy in the top 10. Thank you, Unruly Comics. I think I already shouted out that, but obviously we talked about it and can't get enough. Thank you guys for all joining us. So who that's saying you can't increase during the year?
If you can increase at any time, and they'll just update your policy and charge you for the calculated sort of like the prorated difference or whatever, which is and usually ends up only being a few bucks if you're trying to increase your policy or whatever. But
what's up, Warlord? What's up, J Hood?
J Hood, Warlord, what's going on, guys?
Join us, fellas. So from that perspective, like when you guys started looking, how did you go about finding collectible insurance? Because you were talking about it. I mean, I've never looked into it. I don't know. Did you go to you talked about not going to your homeowner as part of your homeowner's policy? Yeah. Did you go to completely different insurance companies? Where did you start looking, I guess?
So 2 things that happened with me after that lady said that. She gave me a couple names of collectible companies. Then I got an email, kid you not, a week later from CGC saying,
I got the same email from CGC.
Yep. Yeah. And we recommend this company, go with them. And so then
I got the same thing like a year before you did, basically. The same. They're partners, or there's some or maybe they utilize CGC's database, like, and they buy an email blast as an ad or something. I don't know the exact nature of the relationship between collectibles insurance services and
CGC.
certified guarantee company, but they do. I think there's a symbiotic relationship there also to some degree. I would say.
Yeah, because I've gotten the email again and again and again. I'm like, guys, I'm already signed up.
Yeah, same here.
So you guys are in the same company then?
We do.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Then Reggie Simmons.
He also did a video.
He did a video on it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna call him up. So I called him up, got some of the information, liked what I heard, called a couple other companies up, got the information. They were a little higher and a little more strict because they're not. What I found was this company was really good and really used to doing business with comic book collectors.
They understood the lingo right away. When the first time I ever had a conversation with them, we started talking about like Action Comics, and you could tell it wasn't just like straight, generic insurance people on the other end. They're definitely specifically dealing with collectibles, and I've seen this company have a booth at various cons.
Yeah.
So that also was a sort of like a positive sign for me. Like worst case scenario, like if I do have questions and concerns, I could bring it up to somebody in person at a con if I need to, but I've never had to. I've been satisfied ever since I got the policy, at the response time, at the sort of the just they're if you have questions, they're not like angry that you have questions.
Yeah.
So, and the company is just called Collectibles Insurance Services. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm curious if there's anybody, Dad or anybody else that's using anyone else other than them to let us know in the chat, or if everybody's using them. I would be curious to hear what everybody's doing. So
I'm pretty sure Dad has the same one we do because we've talked.
Yeah, pretty sure he's got that one.
Thing. Yeah. Big Will also has collectible insurance. I don't know if there's anybody else in the chat right now that has collectible insurance or not. But
what's up, Big?
Yo, what's up, Big?
What's going on, my man? I had a question and I'm blank. I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
My favorite part, and I think the deal breaker for me, was when I was talking to the guy. He's like, look, I know you're buying comic books, right? And they go up and they go down. And he's like, say you buy and he said a comic book, and I can't remember what it was, but it was cool. I'm like, this guy knows what he's talking about. So he said, maybe say you buy an Amazing Spider-Man 129 and you pay $2,000 for that book, and the movie comes out and it stinks. And this is this guy talking to me. Okay. And the price of your book drops to $1,200 selling all day long. Someone breaks in your house, steals the book. If you supply us with that receipt, we're still going to give you $2,000. Plus, no matter what it is, that's what you have. Now, say on the opposite way, say you bought that book for $2,000, the movie comes out and it's up to $5,000, and it gets stolen. We will give you up to $5,000 if you can prove to us through an eBay sold site. That's what he said. Through Go Collect, I think he said. If you can prove to us that that's what it's selling for.
They literally said GPA. They've said to me GPA or Go Collect or whatever.
If you can prove that GPA, when he got stolen, that's what we will give you for that, up to the amount of your policy.
And that's partially one of the reasons I have all of my slabs in my Go Collect account.
Yeah.
In there, so I can constantly track the real-time value. Whenever I get a new slab, I'll add it in there. So that it can constantly be tracking the current sort of general price range for all those books. And then I get a total number I can spit out for, okay, well, that's what my insurance amount should be total in the worst case scenario that everything gets stolen or whatever. So.
Absolutely true, man. Yeah. We got Porter P in the chat. He's saying he's got it too. And has anybody had a claim? I have not had a
claim yet.
Thank God.
Thank God, yeah.
But
Joe.
What's up, Joe? So
I mean, the policy technically covers damage also, and that's kind of one of the gray areas for me, where it's like, what if you drop a book, it's not slab, but it's still a high dollar book, or and maybe, is that just totally my personal fault, so I can't file a claim? You know, I don't know that I've had that kind of conversation necessarily because most of my higher dollar value stuff is slabbed. Right. So I'm not as concerned about those kind of situations. But, you know, you are also covered in like the transportation / movement of the books, not just shipping. Like if you're moving the books from one place to another place, you're covered under exhibition of the books or essentially like a convention scenario. Okay. So there's a lot of factors to it. It's not just burglary, but burglary and theft is like the easiest part of it, the policy to understand.
So let's say you're going to a con and you're looking to get a big book and you're taking 3 or 4 books with you to potentially use as trade bait or sell or whatever to try to get that other book. And somebody walks up with your backpack. You're covered for those books. Mm-hmm. Should that happen and you're at a con or someplace on the road with those books? Is that how that would work?
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah. So with the guy I was telling the guy, sometimes I'll take a book to a con to get signed. And he's like, say you have them in your backpack gets stolen because you had those books at your con. As long as you can prove to us that you did that, we're good. And he's like, and he told me this, and I've read it too. They're not going to be very like strict with you because you're paying up to a certain amount, you know. As long as you can show them the basic stuff, they're going to cover you. Yeah,
like if you want to be extra careful about it, like
take pictures.
Take pictures of those 3 books in your hotel room with like the date of that day's paper, a website, you know, next to it showing the date or something, you know, because then it's bulletproof and you don't have to deal with the headaches or whatever. Yeah. I've gotten into that habit also, traveling and going to cons and whatnot. So I'm just now extra careful about it. So.
Yeah. So somebody asked about fire, Unruly Simeon. It does cover fire as long as it's not like a military, it's like a war. If there's a war breaks out and your house gets bombed, like literally it says that, they won't cover that. If there's nuclear, anything like that, and it has a whole list of it in there.
Nuclear war.
Yeah, it literally says nuclear. Let me go to the fire. So it says war, including undeclared or civil war, warlike actions by military force, insurrection, rebellion, revolution. Nuclear hazard, meaning nuclear reaction.
Yeah, like I think there's a $150,000 earthquake limit or something. Yep. I'm like, all right.
Yep.
What about flooding? He's saying that after reading his policy, they expect you to have your boxes 6 inches off the floor as well in case of flooding.
Let me go look for flooding.
Yeah, I think I remember something like that. I mean, I tend to have that already.
Same here.
Historically,
actually, I'm a second story, so
none of my stuff is on the floor, so it's all elevated. But that does sound familiar to me. That clause.
There's of critical importance. Unruly is asking.
Zombie apocalypse.
There it is. In case of zombie apocalypse, grab your boxes and run.
Right.
You're on your own at that point.
Let's see. I'm still looking for flooding. I don't see it on mine yet. But this is a lot of stuff I'm gonna have to go through, guys.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's more about peace of mind more than anything.
Yeah.
Like, let's say I have this policy and I continue to keep it consistent with the value of my collection for another 4 or 5 years, and I've yet to file a claim, you know, and then I look backwards at the approximately X amount of dollars in the last 5 years that I've paid and look at what that total is for what the percentage, so for what the ratio of that value is to what the ratio of my overall collection value is times 5 years, it's so far apart that I'm not going to look back and be like, I regret spending that money on insurance, even though I never had to file a claim. It's like, it's better. I mean, it's an overused phrase, but better safe than sorry. You know?
Yeah. Well, we got an example in the chat, man. So Warlord says that he lost his whole collection.
I saw that. That sucks.
To fire. And man, sorry about that, Warlord. But I loved what he said here. Yeah. He started watching us on YouTube, and we've gotten him motivated again. So
it's awesome.
Glad we could do that, brother. Yeah. So,
Big Will did say that.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, he was just saying. Going back to the flag thing, he asked since his place was elevated that he actually could leave them on the floor. So
right. I mean, most of my places have been apartments, not on the ground floor. I'm now on the ground floor again, but my place technically is elevated off the
Yeah. That's why I got mine up on this thing here. Shelving system. Yeah, it's got 6 inches.
Yeah, almost all my like short boxes and plastic bins and stuff like I still don't do this guy back there. They're all off the ground.
Man, was that Katrina? Who dat?
Yeah, I don't know.
So when was that? When was that time when you're like, okay, my collection is at a certain point when? I mean, we don't have to really speak numbers, but unless we want to for the chat.
Well, my place did flood, but luckily it was prior to me moving in. Remember, I had to redo my whole floor.
Yep,
to redo my whole subfloor, to redo my whole hardwoods and everything. It was completely unrelated to anything that the collectibles insurance company would need to pay for. So. Yep. 2 other insurance companies paid for the various costs associated with that. So I just still haven't had to use my my collectibles insurance policy, and I'm glad. Like that would have sucked. That would have been if my comic books were on the floor when that happened.
Yeah. When I was making the decision whether to get this or not, the one thing that kept coming to my mind, and it's probably what comes to a lot of people's mind, is, man, paying that amount a year, I could get another book.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe. I could buy something else with it because my insurance is right around $500 a year. And so
mine's slightly less, I think.
It's 300. Like Hudat was saying, he pays 300. It's a lot of people could think, well, that's a key right there. I mean, that's a good book right there, Yeah. But the peace of mind of knowing whatever amount my collection is worth is safe is way more important than another.
I agree. Well, if you look at the cost broken down monthly, it's like $25 to $40 a month. You know what I mean? Depending upon how high your policy amount is.
Yeah.
I think mine is somewhere between $350 and $400 a year. So we're talking about less than $30 a month. So
mine's 40.
And you can pay it monthly. You don't have to pay it all up front.
Yeah. You get a little discount when you pay all.
You get a little discount, yeah.
So I think mine was going to be like 48, and it's 41 now. If I broke it down. So it's still not bad. It's still way worth it.
Yeah. Let's see. Getting in the hundreds. I decided to get once my house was broken into. So yeah, Hudat said that AF-15 is what prompted him to make the leap.
Yep.
I can, you get a book like that or something, then I can completely understand that. I feel like at this point I'm kind of on, probably not hardly to the stage where it's worth it yet, but I'm getting very close to being like where it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, if I do some quick math in my head, JP, like, if you want to get a $10,000 policy, which might cover your whole collection and more, I don't know. I'm just guessing. That would cost like 1/8 the amount of like a high dollar value like policy, like an $80,000 or $100,000 policy.
Yeah.
So you're talking about literally
$7-8 a month
or less. Yeah. So you're talking about sacrificing one new comic book day like book. I mean,
definitely dirt cheap then.
It's worth it.
Yeah, for just like for a $10,000 policy or something, because that's where I would be. I mean, I'm probably got like $2 to $3 grand worth of books, maybe a little more than that. I'd have to do the math in my head, but
do the math.
Yeah, but that would be my guess. Is I'm in that ballpark right now, which is significantly more. If you go back to the start of this year, it's probably more doubled. So,
what's up, Biggie?
Yeah, man. And that's the thing. You've been going hard this year,
Yeah.
And, you don't want to look back and say something happens and you're like, I'm out of luck. I got to work hard again. It's just, for me, it's like, but you have to make that decision for yourself. One's
Right.
it to you and one's it not, Who Dat said something real important too. There's a couple of caveats they give you to save money. If you have an alarm system on your home that's hooked up straight to the police, you get a discount. If you have I can't remember the size of the safe, but a safe at a certain weight.
You have, I have like 24/7 security on the premises, security cameras.
Yep.
Locked gates after a certain time, whatever, to even get on the premises. Those kind of things will bring the policy cost down also.
Yeah. Yeah. After tonight's next show, your collection's gonna go up a little bit.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm just messing with you.
Well, I already know what it is. So.
Yeah, you do, don't you? That's awesome.
There's going to be some funny stories in about 25 minutes. Whatever that other show is.
Whenever we get done here, and we move over. I know we want to keep it close on time because you publicized it. So
we're going at 8:15 my time, which is still 45 minutes. So we still got half an hour on this show, and then we'll get 15 minutes in between.
Nice. Sneak in some alcohol to get me loose.
Get you.
I've just been drinking water tonight because it's a Monday, but I might have to.
I'm drinking tea. But...
get y'all prepared just a little.
My only concern is, I know me when we get to this is like, it's not cursing on your channel, man.
No. It's not that big of a thing, man. It's just something to tell you I love you, But back to the safe thing. There's a couple of books that I have that are definitely over $8,000, and those are set in a safe. They're not just here. You know what I'm saying? And so they give you a discount because of that as well.
Yeah, and that's what
I was saying earlier.
Like a safety deposit box or a safe?
Yeah,
safe?
So you can have a safe in your home, but it has to meet a couple of requirements. It has to be screwed into the ground, and it has to be over a certain amount of weight so that even 2-3 guys couldn't lift it. And I can't remember the exact numbers that they gave me. Or you could have a safety deposit box at a bank.
Yeah, I got the safety deposit box at a bank. And then, I temporarily closed it down.
Yeah.
And then I reopened it again.
Yeah.
But I had to change. I got to do it. I got to essentially redo that again though, because now I moved again, and I would like it to be still within striking distance away. You know what I mean? So it's not. So it doesn't feel like such a mountain to climb to like. If I want to go look at that book, like I have to like really like. Plan an adventure out to get it and come back with it, that's a little bit frustrating for me, but I do see the advantage of it completely. Like that's as safe as it gets.
Yeah. Here's the cool thing. You don't have to do that. They just give you a discount for doing that.
No.
So your books are still covered in your home, even if you have it out in the open.
Oh yeah, totally. They're covered everywhere. I just personally, it deters me from going to actually look at that book once I have it in a bank, and not a safe in my own home, but like in a bank somewhere else.
So Big Well saying $78 a year for $10,000 of coverage. That's pretty darn cheap. So
yeah, so divide that by 12 to get your monthly sort of average cost. But unruly scaring me now with the horror stories about safety deposit boxes.
I don't know what he's referring to, but.
I love watching those shows. This is totally off topic, but if you guys ever watch those shows where people like will go and they'll bid like real small amounts on like old safety deposit boxes that they can't open.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And then they go and they cut them open at home to see if there's anything inside.
Whoa, that's
cool.
It's
from old banks that have like shut down or people that just disappeared, so they auction them off.
Wow.
So it's like that storage unit show.
But with like safety deposit boxes or like safes.
Yeah.
I was actually watching one this morning where these guys are like going at it with like, I don't even know what that tool's called, but it's like concentrated fire.
A torch?
I guess it's a torch. I don't know, but they're like burning through a certain
torch.
Yeah, and then they have to take a hammer because there's and then they have to go with like a saw after that, and they finally opened it up and they found like 20 grand in $100 bills, watch, like just it was cool. So anyway.
Yeah, I get caught in like a rabbit hole watching that Storage Wars show. Like,
Yes.
like anytime like I'm traveling or whatever, and that's like, you know, like you only expect so much to be on TV when you're traveling and you're like in a hotel room and you're tired. If Storage Wars pops up, like my next 2 to 3 hours are like done for. Like, you know,
You get sucked in by it, dude.
it's like you're bidding too high on that box, or that whatever it is.
Yeah.
You're bidding too high on that locker.
Yep. Oh man, but there's some of those when they get comic books and you're like, yes, that was me. Oh man.
Yeah, I heard that the guy, one of the guys from Torpedo, is now the guy, the Pawn Stars comic book expert or whatever.
Are you sure
about that? Yeah.
Interesting.
So he's going to be on that show now, moving forward, to advise about comics.
Did you see Chad RCG get the?
I did see that. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah. Hello.
It's because I told you guys we saved that cat on the freeway, right? Did I tell you that story?
Yeah. You were telling us about the cat.
So my wife was going to a soccer game. She literally saw like a little baby cat popping up in the median on the freeway.
Oh, wow.
She called her mom. She's like, we're late to soccer, but there's a cat. You need to save it. So my mother-in-law goes out, parks on the median, walks all around, saves this cat, and now it's living with us. Right now, she's nibbling on my toes. I mean, she's tiny. And she's barely getting used to the house. The first like 2 weeks she was in the room with my son, and now she's like exploring. So like last night she jumped up on my bed and she was like licking my fingers, and then she's like, maybe eat. And so she starts like trying to bite my fingers.
Dude, I see stray cats in NYC all the time, and I wish I could do that. I'm allergic though. So
are you really?
Yeah. So I can't do it. That's the one thing I can't do is save stray cats, because I would puff up to the point where you couldn't see my face. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, man. Anyway, I was going to show her to you if my daughter can grab her, but she's like running all around my desk and all.
No worries.
No problem.
You got her?
But did you notice this, Matt? That when I got this policy paperwork or whatever, there's a clause or whatever on it, or some sort of addendum or something.
Okay.
I'm trying to look for it. It says, this endorsement changes the policy. Please read it carefully. Types of collectibles. This endorsement modifies insurance provided under the following: collector's coverage form for collectible property, gun, knife, and edge weapon collectible property, stamp property, and then it says amended to include the following: comics, sports cards, and memorabilia. Did you get that one sheet?
I think I remember that, yeah.
So I think what that is like at some point or another that they didn't have comics as part of their as their collectible like type that they covered, and then at some point I assume that they started covering that space, but they must have started as like a stamp and gun, knife. Ooh,
there so she
cute.
is.
There's a cutie.
She's so cute.
She's so tiny.
Yeah, she is tiny, man. So, but my son named her Nana, which is number 7 in Japanese for lucky number 7, since we found her on the freeway.
Awesome.
She doesn't look Asian.
Bake, I'm not allergic to dogs. I love dogs. Unfortunately, dogs are like not the kind of thing you can just leave completely by itself all day. Type animal, and I live alone, so. And I don't have a house or a yard, so that makes it even harder.
Yeah, I'm a huge dog and cat fan. So my Bake's asking if my dogs like them. Yeah, so she hisses at Oliver, the little Chihuahua. She hasn't met the big dogs outside yet, though. So we're waiting. And the other cat, she hisses at him, but he likes her. We'll figure it out.
They'll find their spot.
That's awesome. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to bring that up. So another thing that we didn't talk about that we need to is how to make sure we have our collection, proof of our collection. So you were saying earlier, Kavi, that you do Go Collect.
Yeah, I do Go Collect. I used to do GPA, and I actually still prefer GPA from a pure, like, if I'm looking into buying a comic book or selling a comic book, I personally feel that GPA has more information available to me all in one place than Go Collect. Go Collect presents it in a much easier manner, in a much more navigatable, like, you have to kind of like learn the ins and outs. And I heard GPA has a new interface, like, because their old one is not the greatest. But I heard that they have a new one, but I have since stopped subscribing.
Did you see Bake's comment?
Yeah, no, I know he hates the interface. Well, apparently they have a new one, dude. So I haven't checked it out yet, but I'm assuming that they looked at Go Collect and probably saw that they were, that they were getting a lot of business, and they were following it behind it. But I haven't seen the new one. Unruly just said the new one sucks, but I haven't looked at it. But there's more information in there. But that said, Go Collect makes it a lot easier to just be like, here's my collection, and here's the current value. You know what I mean? Like, so that just, to me, that made it the most attractive. I also make a point to try to at least photograph every single book of value and associate a date, and I store that on a Dropbox, which is a cloud-based solution. So even if my computer gets destroyed, it still exists.
On the cloud.
Yeah. So I go through like 2 to 3 levels of backup on that, I guess. I also have a Google Doc, which is like an even more like kind of just manual system.
That's what I do.
Just for slabs or whatever, and original art, which are the things that I have are worth the most. So that's the way I document it. I would love to have also one video documenting everything, but then you'd have to keep shooting it. You have to keep shooting updates. I don't know. That's hard. That's hard to maintain.
Yeah. That's my problem. So I have a Google Doc, and every time I purchase a new book or bring it in, I check it on CGC, make sure it's legit. Then I put it in, put the price that I paid, look up what it's going for. And it just takes forever to do that.
It really takes a while.
So I've been thinking I need to, I have a Key Collector app, which you can kind of do that with theirs.
Yeah.
But it's just so time consuming,
Yeah.
And since I already have my list of all my slabs and, statues and things like that, it's just easier to add to that when I get the time.
Yeah. I mean, so Unruly makes a point about NCBCS on Go Collect too. Well, that's true, but they don't track fair market value for CBCS, unfortunately. No. So if you have a book in CBCS, just for your own personal, like, keeping track of the market's sake, just input it as a CGC at that grade. You know what I mean? You don't have to put in the specific number or whatever because you don't have a CGC number. Right. But if it's a CBCS, I just put in, if I have a CBCS 4.0, for example, whatever book it is, I'll just look up the book and then say, yeah, I have a copy. It's graded CGC 4.0, and then I won't put in the other details just so I can track, the current ballpark range of value. Because otherwise, you have to manually put it in a value for what that CBCS book is worth to you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then if you don't go back and update the CBCS values once a year or at some regular time period, you don't have a true accurate estimate or whatever. But
Big Wheel, that's the beauty of a small collection. I wouldn't trade my collection, brother.
I'm working on that. Big Will knows a little bit, but I'm working on trying to get down to more of his size as far as total books. Like, I'm probably at 500 to 600 or so total books that I would say are part of my collection. And I'm trying to get that down to, like, hopefully 300, and only 200 of those are slabs. So I'm trying to get my 200 slabs maybe down to like 125 or whatever. So, I will get there. I think I'm definitely more on the sort of paring down than I am in the expansion phase right now.
Cool. So I think of that sometimes, sometimes I don't remember who asked me this. It may have been you, JP, on the last show I was on with you. No, I can't remember. But somebody said, hey, man, if someone came to you right now and said, I've got an AF-15, a 5.0, would you trade X amount of books for that one? And I really thought about that for a while because it'd be nice to have one AF-15, 5.0, and to save the space from all the books I'd trade for it. But I came to the fact that right now, I like my collection the way it is. I really worked on it really hard to get specific grades, specific page colors.
Yeah.
think I'll keep it for now, and hunt that AF-15, not in a 5.0, but an AF-15 on the side,
Yeah, I mean, look, it's there's no blanket answer for that. I mean, that's got to be all about your particular perspective and your goals, as a collector / what your collection is for you, because that answer is going to be different for different people also. Like, like from a pure like strategy standpoint, like, you could go either way. Like, you might have 7 books to trade for that 5.0 AF-15, where 2 of those books are kind of on the upswing, and 5 of those books are or 3 of those books have been kind of flat the last few years, and then maybe the other 3 books have been down. Whereas, AF-15 went way up, then kind of flattened off, and now is like minorly down. You know what I mean? Well, guess what? Now would be a good time to make that trade just from a pure financial perspective. Maybe take some of those flat / down books, you know what I mean? And figure that trade out while it has dipped, because it's not going to be forever dipped,
What kicks my butt is, for instance, 2 books that I purchased with the purpose of flipping them. Tomb of Dracula, number 10, and Werewolf by Night, number 32.
Right.
Then I got them. I'm like, these are not leaving my collection. And
what?
I just fell in love with them, man. I read the stories and I'm like, okay, I like these characters and now I want the book. And so they literally, my Tomb of Dracula, I think I got for $400, and somebody's already offered me $1,100. That's a big increase right there,
Dude.
And right now it's time to do it because it's hot, but I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. I want to keep it, Same with Werewolf by Night. I bought it for $1,000 less than what it's going for now,
Yeah.
And so I'm always fighting myself because I did buy those to flip, and then all of a sudden I fall in love with them and I don't want to lose them,
Well, that's not a problem we can solve.
Yeah, It's all an addiction, man. You can have an intervention on your work.
I mean, I have a problem right now where it's like, where I'm dabbling a lot more in the original art side of things. Yep. And, you can get that covered in your policy as well. Like, I had a conversation.
I'm just going to ask
you can. I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, you don't have to necessarily cover the entire, like, that's up to you. Like I feel most comfortable covering the entire value or my estimated value of my entire collection with the policy. But let's say your collection is worth $25,000 and you choose only to buy a $10,000 policy. That's totally cool, because let's say your main purpose for buying the policy is because you take, books that are worth $2,000, $3,000 at a time to cons, and that's your number one concern about it getting stolen in those scenarios or whatever. Then that you're never going to have all 25,000, your whole collection on you at a con. You know what I mean? So you can like play that game also and be like, okay, I'm okay with this. I'm comfortable with this amount of insurance because I don't think I'll need to go above that amount. That's possible. So
that's awesome, Big Will.
What do you say?
I don't leave them
making you an offer.
Cover your face up, but yeah, I've been
4999 will be imaginary.
That's like the segment plan I was going to give you.
When I did my policy, when I went through with it, they asked me, okay, what is your percentage of comic books? What is your percentage of statues? What is your percentage of toys? Because I wanted to cover everything I had because it's here now.
Yeah, it's all collectibles. Yeah.
And so I told them, okay, my comic books are 90%, my original art's 2%, my statues are 5%, and whatever,
Yeah.
So that's how much percentage of the amount that I pull up will be covered for everything.
So NYC, when you add in your original art, how are you trying to set value for that? Because you can't really replace that. Mm-mm. So how are you?
Just my original upfront. Just my cost, essentially.
Even though you could, if you decided to move that stuff on, you could probably make more on it than you paid for it. You just still.
I mean, maybe theoretically. I mean, these are one of one pieces that have no, like, some of these pieces have changed.
No market.
Some of these pieces have been like okay, it was sold on Heritage 8 years ago, and then it was sold on Comic Link 2 years ago.
Right.
You know, so you can sort of see some sort of price trajectory, but it's still the same. Yeah, it's still the same piece of art. It's not another copy of, you know, ASM 129. You know, it's not the same ball game.
Yeah, but like, you know, it's some of those things.
So I just go with the basics, and I just assess my cost, and you know, if I can cover my cost, then I'm at least, you know, I'm at least back to par and back to sanity if all of it was stolen or I lost it somehow in a fire or whatever it was.
Yeah.
You know?
See, man, if I got everything, I'd be tempted to buy some big books. If I got that amount of money that all my collection is worth at once, whew.
You would just buy big books probably.
What's the dilemma?
He said if he had to, like, if he got the payment for his collection, if something happened, like
if he got like the insurance check.
Yeah, he wouldn't buy the books he has. He'd buy big books.
Well, at the end of the day, that's your call. They're not going to follow up with you on like what books that you got. I mean,
got me sick to my stomach and excited at the same time.
Just to be clear, everybody, the Boy Who Had Summit is not planning an insurance scam right now.
Man.
Or is he? No, I'm just kidding.
My little sister today was messing around with me. She's like, "So if I stole your comic books," I was like, "Get out of my house! Get out of here right now!" She's crazy. No, I just.
I mean, that's crazy to think about, though, because the longer you collect and the more you like get off the deep end, so to speak, like metaphorically with this hobby or whatever. And you start looking at your total value of your collection, whether it's your estimate or Go Collect's estimate or whatever, it adds up, and you're like, oh, okay. Like if I had saved all that money somehow miraculously, which would be impossible, you know, instead of buying all that stuff, I could get an Action 1 0.5 or whatever it is. You know, I don't know, just making it up. But
you know how I know my wife is like the coolest person ever. I have my spreadsheet, and the other day she comes in, and I'm like freaking out. She's gonna see because at the bottom it has the total of what everything I paid,
value,
and at the total of what I think it's worth, right? And I freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna murder me. She looks at me, she's like, "Are you kidding me right now?" And I'm like, just like looking at her, she's like, "I better get that amount then." Then she walks out. I was like, "Whoa." I dodged the bullet, man. As long as she gets her pie, she's good to go, man. Oh my gosh. So blame the fire on the cat, right?
Yeah, I mean, so Unruly says if he sold all of his slabs, there you go. He could afford a mid-grade of his Grail. So
what's your Grail?
I'm trying to think. What is Unruly?
Yeah, trying to think. I mean, I'm assuming it would be a Kirby-related thing, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I know what Unruly's Grail is.
I don't even know. What do Action 1s go for?
FF1. So, yeah, Kirby. Thing.
Oh, beautiful, man.
Yeah.
One's awesome. Do you guys know what an Action Comics 1 goes for? Like at a 0.5, like you said?
Oh, who knows?
I don't know. I mean, I just made that up. I mean, you know, I don't know. Honestly, I don't follow the sales of that book like religiously because why would I? You know, like restored copies in lower grade go for like almost six figures. Like, you know, like a 1 point something restored would be like.
I would guess a 0.5 unrestored would go for 6 figures.
Probably.
Gosh, man, to be or not to
well,
be?
There's varying degrees of 0.5s. There's like complete 5.5s. There's incomplete 0.5s. There's 0.5s with half the cover ripped off versus 0.5s with extremely presentable covers.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's a whole boatload of ranges for that. So.
Yeah.
Man, I kind of want to know.
All right, we'll just look it up right now on Handy Dandy GPA.
Do it.
Or whatever. Let's see.
Gosh, man.
I don't see a
0.5.
A 0.5 in the eBay. Well, maybe I'm looking at the wrong listing for it.
For an Action 1, Big Will says 25 $50 for an sale of 1.5. That's way too cheap for an Action 1.
Unless it was like in whatever,
Yeah.
2001 or 2000.
Yeah, that's way too cheap. You couldn't even get a page for that.
Yeah, pages are going. I saw a page right now going for 16 grand sold.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like that's a page.
Yeah.
Dang. That'd be so
cool.
cool.
Just dropping in. Thanks for joining us, Bub.
Well, an 8.5 sold for over $2 million in 2018. So I'm not saying 0.5.
I could get that one.
Online sales that are listed. He was talking about FF1.
Okay. Yeah.
The lowest grade I have a sales record for right now was all the way back in 2013. It was a 1.5. It was a CGC Blue Label 1.5, and that was 175,000 in 2013.
Okay, yeah,
think about how far the comic market has gone in the last 6-7 years.
Wouldn't be
that would be 400K easy now.
Yeah,
500K maybe.
Did you guys we sort of discussed that, Bubs, a little bit, but none of us have had claims. Have you had?
Yeah, we never actually had to have claims before, but yeah, we sort of did discuss it.
I'm curious if Bubs. I know Bubs has dealt with. I've heard him talk about insurance and stuff before. I'm curious if he's actually had to make a claim. So, because I don't think nobody else ever said that they had to make a claim.
Yeah, I didn't see anybody who said that they did. But yeah, we talk about actual value versus market value.
Did you see Comic Tom's friend Guru, Golden Age Guru? He got his car stolen and they had comic books in it.
Yeah, I saw that. I heard about that.
I wonder if he had insurance, because if they're in your car and get stolen, money back.
Aren't we all, Bubs?
Hey, what'd he say?
He says, no, but I am an expert.
Well, a high grade restored one, I think, recently sold on was it Comic Connect, maybe, or
of which
of Action One.
The Golden guys were talking about that.
Yeah.
They had that on there one night. They were talking about it. What
was the price? You guys remember?
I don't remember.
I don't remember. I don't know that it was final. I think it was sold during the auction, but it was already over. It was already in the 6 figures, I think.
Yeah.
Comics for Blame says, I'd be willing to accept a trade, a 2.0 for my deed. Oh my God.
Comics for Blame. I don't think I'd shouted you out before. I don't think there's anybody else I missed. We talked about Patrick Wall. Highlight's been here for a while. Yeah, I don't think so. I think I've got everybody. Well, fellas, it is at the 57-58 mark right now. Yeah. So you guys got any final thoughts? Because I think we're all supposed to be on another.
No, my final thought is, having insurance is a good thing. Specifically, having collectible insurance is a smart thing. Especially, if we're talking collecting smart, it's a way to collect smart. Especially if you're looking to expand your collection, like if you are on the sort of expansion phase of your efforts. And then B, if you are sending a lot of comic books out, for whatever reason.
And he brought up a point that we never actually talked about. Is he said that your books, like if you purchase a book, it's actually covered even on the shipping to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And so even before you have it in your possession, it's covered under the policy, which I think is a really interesting thought that I would have never really thought about. It's like,
right. If you're dealing with books coming in and out, if you're dealing with traveling with books, and if you're just dealing with a current storage solution for your books at home or otherwise that isn't completely bulletproof, it's worth it. So
you guys you're just like sending them what your collection is, or you're not even sharing.
No, you're buying a policy amount, and then if you have to file a claim, you show them what the current value. You show them that you had possession of it. That's how you talk about documenting your collection. You can document it with photos and various other things, videos.
So
go collect GPA, whatever it may be, and then you file a claim for the market value based on your own research or the information that you have, and then you work out the claim that way.
Yeah.
They're not asking to have a line item by line item or, site visit to, inspect every single little piece
easy,
of,
Patrick.
yeah. So.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt? You got any final thoughts?
Yeah, my final thought was I have so much more peace of mind now that I have this.
Yeah.
And that is worth the $500 that I paid up front for the whole year.
Yeah.
So I kid you not, it feels so good to know if I go to a con, if I'm going on vacation, if something happens to these books, I'm good to go. And that peace of mind means the most to me. So super happy about that. Last thing is Bubs is actually an insurance guy for real.
Yeah.
We're going to have him on part 2 just to get a couple more things in here. I wish we had more time.
Yeah.
We should have had him on tonight because that's what he does.
I didn't even think about that. Like we were talking about doing it and I forgot about that too. Should have. So, well, I don't have anything else. You guys educated me. I really never had looked into it. I thought this was great. Not a huge deep dive, but like the cursory of what you're getting for your money, what the kind of cost is, what it protects. Just a nice overview. Hopefully everybody got something out of it. And we're going to get off of here, and we will be on Matt's channel here in just a couple of minutes for some little small thing he's got going on that he's been doing almost nightly here for a week already and for another week to go. So thanks, everybody, and we will catch you later.
Later, y'all.
Bye.